Himalayas top K2. There are the quote unquote gods in glass body chambers, and Alexander the Great of ancient Greece visited here, according to allegations. Alexander the Great from 320 BC, just around there, 330 BC. And this is an image of the Himalayas. Over 10,000 caves were dug into the Himalayan mountains over 2,000 years ago, or just after or at the time of Alexander the Great. Remember that wherever he conquered, he left generals behind him, and they were married to the local girls, the elite of the area, and they settled down and they had families, and they spread the ancient Greek culture. And there are those in the area of Bengal, the Himalayan village tied to Alexander the Great, that claim that they are descendants of him and his generals, again, in that area. The Kalas, as well, still have cultural ties to ancient Greece. So going back to the what Alexander the Great found as he was crossing the Himalayan mountains into India. The K2, in the 1850s, Lieutenant Colonel of the British Colonial Army of India, that was around the time of Queen Victoria, yes. Thomas George Montgomery, from 1830 to 1878, participated in the so-called Great Trigonometric Exploration of the Indian subcontinent. When the group reached northern Pakistan, specifically Mount Karakoram, Montgomery, from Mount Harmukh, which locally means Lord Shiva's mouth, observed at a distance of about 210 kilometers two towering pyramidal peaks protruding from the other mountains. And now we know in ancient Greece we do have pyramids on top of mountains, and all over Greece basically. So he had found these two pyramidal peaks protruding from other mountains. He gave these peaks the names Peak K1 and Peak K2 to register them, and then went to find out the names that the locals had for these peaks. The top of K1 was named Master Brum. Note, in Master Brum there was in antiquity one of the turbochargers of the Himalayan network. Anyway, Montgomery learned from the locals that Master Brum meant armed mountain or mountain weapon. Tradition has it that when the gods, quote unquote, fought each other, a weapon system was installed in Master Brum. Brum means mountain, that sent lightning in every direction and destroyed the enemies of the gods who possessed it. Now let's remember that supposedly an Atlantean passed a very special ancient Atlantean technology device to Alexander the Great, and it was called the lightning rod of ZEUS, and that he actually went all the way to the end of the continent of Asia, to the coast of China, and his generals left a column there saying that King Alexander has come all the way here. And they left a copy of the lightning rod of ZEUS in one of the Himalayan Buddhist monasteries. Now, they hid the weapon. His generals hid the weapon. And this is a copy of it. It's in one of the monasteries of the Buddhist monasteries of the Himalayas. And it's a copy of the lightning rod of ZEUS that the Atlanteans passed on from Hyperborea of the ultimate north, which basically was the Atlanteans' location. And this is what they gave. Who knows what they did with this? Let's remember that we have ancient texts of ancient Greek historians telling us that Alexander the Great had actually had help from, who knows, I'm just saying what we read, and I've made videos on this, from extraterrestrials and their UFOs. In their Battle of Tyre, they supposedly broke down the wall of the city, and Alexander was able to take the city of Tyre, which was an island at that time off the coast of Lebanon. It's now attached to Lebanon by a peninsula that Alexander the Great built. So who knows what kind of help he had. This is the copy of what was left in the Buddhist monastery. But anyway, strange that Montgomery talks about this armed mountain. The weapon system was installed in this area of the Master Broom, meaning mountain, Broom meaning mountain, that sent lightning in every direction and destroyed the enemies of the gods, quote unquote, who possessed it. Now, such a story like this one did not seem strange to Montgomery, since almost all the mountains in the Himalayas brought similar traditions to quote unquote gods who once lived there. Who knows, was it the Atlanteans? Now, the one that impressed him the most was that the other mountain, which he named K2, came from the Karakoram, did not bear any local name and was the quote unquote indivisible mountain, end quote. When he found out that the locals were avoiding talking to him about this mountain, he decided to locate villages and camps in the valley around the glacier that surrounded Korakam in order to get more valid information. He found locals who were willing to talk to him about K2, but were not willing to approach him, and K2 did not have a name, according to these locals. In Ascoli, a small town, or rather a large village in the Braldu Valley, which is the last human settlement, as you approach the mountains from the south, one can hear many strange stories about K2. So there, they say, there was the room of knowledge, where all the knowledge about the past of the earth is located. A huge file with everything that happened in all places on our planet. This reminds us of the Bukachi caves, the underground finding in Romania with the Sphinx. Now, if we decide to organize our thoughts with the help of the theory that there is no smoke without fire, we may ask ourselves who or what could make such a library or such an archive with all the knowledge, scientific and historical, that concerns, in fact, our entire planet. What technology did they use to do all this? This is not the strangest thing one hears from the locals, of course. There in K2, they say that the gods, quote unquote, are asleep, immobile, hibernating, sleeping, and punished by the Great Spirit for their disobedience. Could they be Atlanteans? Could they be what Alexander the Great, as we know, set out to destroy or lock up in underground caves and build pyramids on top of? They were Nephilim. They were the abominable races of hybrids, humans and animal, half snake, half animal, half bull, and half animal, half eagle, whatever, half animal, half lion. The Nephilim. This is what Alexander the Great was doing in China and India. So who are these gods, and why were they punished, and by whom? Who was more powerful than these quote-unquote gods? The traditions of the peoples mentioned in the K2 peak want the gods immobile in a standing stasis chambers, inside glass chambers of the body, to rest without anyone knowing until when. Both the traditions of the peoples of Central Asia and Western China, as well as the Indians and the Arabs, want Alexander the Great to have visited K2, not so much to see the sleeping gods and to think that everything is in vain in this world, but to find in the archive of knowledge a great secret he was looking for. They even say that with some wise men, they led him in front of the glass chambers of these quote-unquote gods to appease his vanity and his desire to conquer the whole world, since even the gods who once ruled did not have a happy ending. This is from a Greek article I've translated for you. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.